Hello, hello. I think we are live here. Cash Practice Training Tuesdays, back again. All right. Today, I'm going to share a question that if you use it in your initial prospective phone call with a patient who maybe doesn't know that you're cash pay or that you're out of network with their insurance, if you use this question, you can immediately implement it and it will make an immediate increase in your conversions into happy cash pay customers. So I'm going to tell you all about that question in a moment. But before we get into that, I want to do a little bit of a drill here. I want you to imagine the scenario that I'm about to paint and tune into how you feel as you imagine yourself in this scenario. The phone rings, whether you pick it up or your receptionist, if you have a receptionist doing your, answering all the phone calls initially, one of you is answering the phone, and the first thing out of the mouth of the person that called is, "Hey, do you guys take Blue Cross?" And in this case, you don't take Blue Cross. You're out of network with Blue Cross. How does that make you feel when you get that question first thing, or anywhere in that conversation? Yeah, but do you take Cigna? Are you guys in network with UHC? And you're not. How does it make you feel? How does it make the person answering the phone feel? And I can tell you right now that if you feel anything less than fully comfortable, or the receptionist feels anything less than totally comfortable, and if not even excited and enjoying answering that question, you are losing money. You're losing the ability to help people that would have said yes if you knew how to handle that question and the overall initial patient phone call. It is so vital. You can be a marketing genius and have the phone ringing off the hook. But if the person answering the phone doesn't know how to address that question, and you're a cash payer, mostly out of network clinic, you are losing a ton of opportunity, a ton of business, and a ton of opportunity to help people if you don't have the skill set. And it is a learned skill set to answer that question and to guide that conversation in a very specific way. And the question I'm going to give you here in a moment that you can implement is a very, very key tool and tactic in that process. And there's a lot of them. And so, and you're not alone. Trust me, every time I post anything about the "do you take my insurance" question, it gets more attention, posts, comments, whatever, shares than just about any other topic in the realm of cash-based physical therapy or cash-based healthcare as a whole. It really does. I know for years and years of talking about this stuff, coaching people on it, the questions that I'm asked in my own mastermind group all the time, like which came up today, which is a big part of why I'm doing this talk today. It is so ever present, and it is such a sticking point and weakness, I would say, for a lot of people. It's just the thing. It's like the last thing you want to hear is a question, do you about insurance coverage, or are you in network? It's just that it's that intense, but it's that important too, because if you get that answer wrong, then you easily will lose a customer or lose a prospect that would have become a customer if you knew how to guide that conversation. Okay. And before I get into the question that I've mentioned a couple of times already, I will say that because it's such a big topic, and because we have a scenario right now, and this will always be the case, but especially when times are tough, we've got a pandemic, economically things aren't great. You cannot afford, when you've done something in your marketing and your word of mouth marketing and your branding and how you're getting people to talk about you, if someone has picked up the phone and said, "I need physical therapy and I'm willing to have that conversation with you," you cannot afford to lose that prospect if having a certain skill set and knowledge of things would have gained you that prospect. You cannot afford to do that in these times. I'd say ever, but especially when times are a little harder than normal, which is, of course, the definition of 2020. So for that reason, I went ahead and I had my team and we looked for, after 3+ years of coaching every week for 1 to 2 hours at a time, my mastermind group, we extracted my best trainings on the initial patient phone call and on how to answer the "do you take my insurance" question. We put it all together into a Masterclass series, and that will be live and available for everyone this Friday. So if you're watching this in a day or two after this, I don't know that it'll be up at the info page I'll give you right here, but very, very soon it will be available, and it's going to be very, very affordable. This is such a vital piece of, I wouldn't say a piece of strategy, but like it's a vital set of tactics and strategies and mini scripts that you really need to know. It will completely change your business if you don't feel already totally comfortable with that conversation and with that question. And in fact, I just named it just what it is: how to answer the "do you take my insurance" question. So you can check it out at drjarodcarter.com/the question, all spelled out. And so that's going to be there in the next few days. But let me get into the topic of this video here with that one question. This is one of the many things that you'll learn in that kind of masterclass series. And one of those questions is, what about it? What about XYZ goal or limitation or activity? What about, let's say, running, do you love so much, Mr. Jones? You're speaking to someone, you've learned about how their current injury or pain is limiting them, and you've honed in and you know that there's a certain activity that they're, especially enamored with, that they want to do for some reason. It's not enough to simply figure out, okay, so it's running that really is why they're calling. That's why they want to get back to, right? And then just kind of leaving it at that. People make decisions. I've said this so many times, and you hear this from a lot of people who understand sales and marketing. People make decisions based on emotion, and they'll usually justify them after the fact with logical stuff like, okay, well, they have a doctorate, or they do this or that, or they spend an hour one-on-one with you, that kind of stuff. But they make decisions based on emotion. So in these conversations, if you're not asking questions and saying things and guiding it in a way that you are invoking emotions surrounding the thing that they're most emotionally tied to, that this injury or pain is causing them to not do or not do as much as they'd like, then you're missing out on conversions. I promise you. So except for in the situations where it's just so self-evident, it would be silly to ask. I want you to start asking, what is it about XYZ activity that you like so much, or that you need to do, or that you love so much, depending on the activity. Obviously you can vary it. It's not a set script, but you want to ask that question. What is it about that thing that you love, or that you like so much, or that compels you to need to do it? I mean, I wouldn't, if someone was saying, if I said, well, what is this back pain really keeping you from doing that, that you want to do more than anything else? And they say, actually, I can't roll around on the floor with my grandson anymore. It's just really a bummer. Well, I'm not going to ask that guy, what is about rolling around with your grandson do you love so much? I mean, it's self-evident, in certain cases. But let's go back to the case of running. If you ask that of 10 different runners, you're probably going to get like 7 or 8 different responses. You might even get the response, actually, I don't really like running or love it. It's just the most efficient way for me to get the cardio I need to keep my heart healthy, because I got some stuff going on in my family history, and I just need to make sure I do that. Okay, so the driver there is to stay healthy for that person, for themselves, and probably also for their family. That's a great, huge motivating factor, even though they don't really love running. I don't even like it. Right? So those are the kinds of things that you might hear. And if you don't get to that underlying kind of emotionally tied reason and have them verbalize it and invoke those emotions and think about those things and feel those things, then you're missing out on conversions. I promise you that. Right? On the running topic, it's like you got that guy, and then you got the person who's like, man, I'm so stressed out if I can't go run. I will go crazy. I've got to get back. It's just, and that whole spectrum. So you got to get them to verbalize it, and you got to get an understanding of what's really driving them, because that's what you're going to then carry throughout your conversations, or have your staff carry throughout the conversations, all the way to the end of the plan of care, in order to limit drop-offs. And that's a whole other topic. But the information you gather in this phone conversation, there's some key parts of it. In fact, I have a whole module in the masterclass I just mentioned. A whole module is dedicated to training yourself and staff on the parts of that initial conversation, initial prospective phone call, how you carry that throughout the plan of care, and how it shifts, how you shift that person's focus throughout to make sure that they don't drop off schedule as they get better and better. So anyhow, what do you love so much about XYZ? That's the question I want you to all start utilizing. And if you want a lot of things like that, tactics and the overall structure of how you guide that initial conversation to maximize the amount of people who are willing to say yes, even though they know now that you are out of network. And even if their first question was, do you take my insurance? if you can guide it in a certain way, if you want to learn all the details of how to do that and how I've learned to do that over 10 plus years of doing this in my own clinic and training others, go to drjarodcarter.com/the question. If there's nothing there, if you're looking at this, in the next 24 hours, there might not be, but be patient. We're going to get that thing live in the next few days. It's going to be very affordable and hugely, hugely impactful. This is a vital piece of any out-of-network practice, so definitely check that out. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, whether you've been here live, you're watching this in the replay. We'll see you next Tuesday.